Good afternoon. Welcome to another XOTIC PC video review. And today we are reviewing an MSI Barebones. It's a new MSI Barebones, and this is our Force 1762. This is the 62-033. Now there is two versions out right now that we offer of this MSI Barebones, and we'll actually show you this on your screen here. There is the 62033, and that one comes with the 680M, which is this model here, and then we have the 032, which comes with the 675M. So there are some different options for you with this new chassis. They both come with a new blue backlit keyboard, and you should be able to see that there on your screen. We'll be breaking that down later in the review for you. We first wanted to thank you for joining us today on this video review. We're going to be going over a ton of different fun things. The first thing we'll do is we'll break down the system specs of this model. We'll be going over the exterior finish and how it differs from the branded MSI models, the GT70s. We'll then be going over the screen. We do have an upgraded screen on here. The reason we did that is because we've had quite a few requests from fans and customers to see screens in our video review, so we wanted to put an upgrade option on here that is available on this system so you could sort of see what one of our upgrade screen options looks like. We'll then go over the keyboard, which is that new blue keyboard, and the point device. We'll then briefly cover the audio and the audio package on this MSI Barebones. One nice thing this does have is Dynaudio speakers, and we'll be getting into that with you later in the review. We'll also cover the ports and the port package, the USB, the vents, the optical drive, everything around the exterior as far as ports goes. We'll briefly get into the system BIOS. That's one thing that we like to show on every video review. We'll then be doing some benchmarking and overclocking. We'll show you some 3D Mark Vantage stock and overclock scores of that NVIDIA GTX 680M that comes on this 1762. We'll then show you some thermal images and some temperatures so you can see actually how well this cools. And then lastly, we'll be showing you the internal components. We'll be taking off the bottom cover, showing you the inside of this Barebones 1762. So we wanted to thank you for joining us today, and we will go ahead and get started in the review. Okay, the first thing, like we mentioned, we'll go over with you is the system specs. Now we do have some upgrades on here that we've done, so we'll show you that on your screen here, sort of a breakdown of the base configuration versus what we have on this test model. Now for the screen, we do have a 17.3-inch Full HD Glossy screen. It is the upgrade to the 72% NTSC color gamut screen. For the CPU, we just have the stock CPU in here. This is the i7 3610 Quad Mobile. That's the newest 3rd generation Ivy Bridge processor from Intel, and those have been out since just about April of this year. The graphics card, like we mentioned, this is the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 680M graphics card. Later in the review, like we mentioned also, we'll be showing you some benchmarking and overclocking scores of that 680M. For memory, the memory in here, we did upgrade that to 16 gigabytes. There is 4 DIMM slots in here, so you can go all the way up to 32 gigabytes of RAM if you like. The hard drives, there is 2 hard drive bays in here. We upgraded those also to a mechanical 750 gigabyte 7200 RPM hard drive and paired that up with a Caching SSD. And then I guess lastly, or almost lastly, the optical drive in here is just a stock DVD burner, and then for the wireless card in here, we do just have a stock wireless card in here, which is a Bluetooth 4.0 combo. So that's just, I guess, the basic specs breakdown of our test model here and how it compares to the base configuration of this MSI Barebones 1762. Now the next thing we will go over with you is the screen. Okay, before we get into the screen with you here, we don't want to get too out of order on our video review. We wanted to discuss briefly the exterior finish. Now one thing you'll notice when comparing this Barebones system to the branded MSI GT70s is this back cover. Now on the GT70s, the branded MSI models, you'd have an LED backlit MSI logo in the middle, and then this would actually be a brushed aluminum. Now on these Barebones systems, this is just a hard plastic. So that's a major notable difference on the exterior finish from those branded MSI models compared to these Barebones models. Now looking around the keyboard area, you can see it's an illuminating keyboard, and we'll actually get into that a little bit more here in just a second. But we also have a hard plastic around the palm rest and around the keyboard. Now on the branded GT70s, these would also be, this would be a brushed aluminum finish palm rest, and then around the keyboard this is like a high gloss black. And on these Barebones systems, this is just a flat black plastic. So that's, I guess just a brief breakdown of the exterior finish. And then the next thing we'll get in with you, like we mentioned, is the screen. Okay, the next thing we're showing you here is the screen. Now what we did is we shut off some of our backlighting so you can really see the color intensity and the illuminating quality of this screen. Now like we mentioned when we broke down the specs for you just a minute ago, is that this is the upgraded screen. This is a 17.3 inch full HD glossy screen, but this is the 72% NTSC color gamut screen. So it's a very nice screen upgrade. We offer it on most of our 17.3 inch gaming laptops as an upgrade option, and the color quality is just phenomenal. Hopefully you can see it on your screen here. The blacks to me appear much richer, and the gradients between colors is far more intense. You definitely get a lot more color than you do on some of the stock screens. Now looking at the wash side to side, you really don't see much wash from side to side. Looking at some of the 17.3 inch matte and glossy screens that I've reviewed in the past couple months, you're starting to see washes maybe right around in that area on stock screens, and on this upgrade screen you're not seeing any wash until you hit 85%, almost coming all the way to the side. There's virtually no wash whatsoever side to side on this system. Now going backwards, or tilting the screen back, you can actually see our one light that we have on there. Sorry about that. You are seeing slight wash coming up from the bottom. It's definitely not as bad than I've seen on stock screens. Coming down from the top, one thing I will say is that you probably aren't going to use your laptop at this angle, but even coming down from the top, you're seeing virtually no wash whatsoever. So the screen on this is really nice. Again, it is an upgraded screen. It's a very affordable upgrade that we offer, and it's definitely something to look at, especially if you're like a graphic designer, you're into photography or videography, or you just want to really enhance your gaming experience. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is the keyboard. Now on these Barebones models, the keyboard on this is not a SteelSeries keyboard. However, it is basically the same chiclet style of keyboard. As you can see, these are blue backlit. These are only offered on a few of the newer 1762 Barebones and a few of the newer 16F3, which is the 15.6 inch Barebones models. You'll have to definitely check those out on our website, or you can contact us directly and we can let you know which ones have blue backlit keyboards. Now, like I mentioned, this isn't a SteelSeries backlit keyboard, so it's not programmable. However, in the past, with like the older 1762s and then the previous 1761 Barebones models, those didn't have backlit keyboards at all. So it's really nice that they're putting a blue backlit keyboard on here. There is a slight amount of flex to the keys on the keyboard. The keys themselves are really responsive. I love these keyboards. It has the same feel as SteelSeries keyboard. The point device on this is also really nice. It's a different texture than the palm rest area. It has a slight matte finish to it, not just in look but in feel. So your fingers glide across it really nice. One thing they did do, which is a new addition as well, is they've actually added a little blue LED around the mouse here. which you know, is nice. I like it, and we'll actually shut the lights off for you here in just a second, so you can see actually how nice this blue backlit keyboard illuminates. Now the clickers themselves are okay. They're a little stiff. I've been playing around with this system for about 2-3 hours now, and they've actually freed up quite a bit. So when you unbox this, these might feel a little rigid to you, but they will loosen up. Okay, the next thing we'll do is we'll actually shut the lights off and show you the backlit keyboard in the dark. Okay, and now we have the lights off. You can see there's this blue strip around the palm rest area. Again, that's a new addition. I think it's great that they put that there. And the blue backlit keyboard. Now you can see the illuminating quality of the keyboard is very comparable to the the SteelSeries keyboard, but unfortunately on these they aren't color programmable. But you know, in my opinion, it's better than having no backlit keyboard, and I'm a big fan of the blue. A couple other things to note, and we'll actually get into this more a little bit later, as well as is around the speakers. There is Dynaudio speakers on here. You do have blue up here around the speakers as well. Okay, the next thing we'll go over with you is this top toolbar area. Starting from left to right, you do have a P1, which is a programmable button, Cinema Pro, TDE, which is turbo drive engine. You'll find this on the branded MSI GT70s as well. You do have a button that can turn off and on your blue backlit keyboard. Then we have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and then, excuse me, I forgot to mention here in the middle here is your power button. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, display, so you can turn your display on and off. And then on the last here, you do have an eject button for that optical drive. So that's just the top row keys. And then the next thing that we'll briefly cover is the turbofan, the TDE. Okay, we briefly just wanted to touch base on the fan noise. It's a common question that we get, you know, how loud are the fans? And actually on this Barebones system, like the MSI GT70s, there is only one fan, dual exhaust vents, one out the back, one out the side. And we'll actually show you that here next. The fan noise on this is average. It's not too loud or anything when you're doing moderate tasks. As long as the CPU and GPU aren't working extra hard, the fan noise is perfectly fine. So if you're in a classroom setting, you know, surfing the internet, anything like that, the fan noise isn't at an uncomfortable volume. However, when you do hit the TDE, the turbo drive engine button, or the GPU and CPU are working extra hard, you'll hear the fan noise. The fan will speed up and the noise will get much louder. I'll actually let you take a listen to that here as well. So hopefully you can hear that speed up. You can kick that button off and it'll start to speed back down. But we briefly just wanted to touch base on the fan noise on this Barebones 1762. Okay, the next thing we briefly wanted to touch on is the audio on this Barebones 1762. Now, one nice thing about the Barebones is that they still come with Dynaudio speakers. You do have a speaker left, a speaker right, which does have that new sort of blue LED glow around it, which I think is a nice aesthetic upgrade. And then underneath, you do have a Dynaudio subwoofer. Now, we'll play you some sample music here. It's not my particular taste in music, but we just wanted to show you what the sound is like on this Barebones system. Now, the sound volume on this is at 100% right now. Alright, so I always get a chuckle out of the sample music that they put on any laptop, but you know, hopefully that gives you a little bit of perspective into the audio package. on this Barebones 1762. Okay, the next thing we're going to go over with you is the port package on this MSI Barebones 1762. Starting on the right side here, you do have two legacy USB 2.0 ports, your optical drive bay. There is the external eject button on here, which is nice. Swinging around to the back, Kensington lock jack, DC power input, RJ45 Ethernet port. You do have a 15-pin VGA port, so if you wanted to run to an external monitor, you have that there. eSATA, HDMI out. Here is one of two of your exhaust vents, and there's one central fan that sits right about here underneath. And towards the end of the review, I'll actually take off that bottom cover and show you the fan that runs to this external vent. So that's one of the two. The second is going to be here on the left side of the system. You do have three USB 3.0 ports, those super speed ports, which are really nice. We do get some people that ask what's the difference between 3.0 and 2.0. 3.0 is like 10 times faster. It's crazy fast. So it's good that you get three of those ports on here. You do have a memory card reader, and on this system the memory card reader is 7.1. I believe on the previous 1761 models, the previous Barebones, these are only 4-in-1s. So it's nice now that you get 7-in-1. Your port package on here, you do get the standard 4 ports, headphone, microphone, SPDIF, and line in. These are different than the branded MSI GT70s. If you look on the GT70s, these are actually going to be coated in gold, which is nice, but you know, one thing on these Barebones systems is that they're trying to save money to you as the customer, so that's one addition that they didn't include here on the Barebones model. Now swinging around to the front, you do have a standard set of LED indicator lights, starting from left to right. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, this is going to be your battery. The blue one flashing there is sleep mode. We do have the laptop lid closed, so the sleep is on, and then you have hard drive activity. Now one thing we'll also mention quick, since you can see the system as a whole with the lid closed, is the size. Now this is 16.7 inches across. The width is exactly 11 inches, and the overall height is going to be 2¼ inches. And actually this is slightly slimmer than the branded MSI GT70. For weight, it does weigh 8.6 pounds. It is a 17.3-inch laptop, so it's going to be on the heavier side, and that 8.6 pounds is with the battery in. So hopefully that just gives you perspective of size on this Barebones 1762, and then again the port package around the outside. Okay, the next thing we're just going to show you quickly here is the system BIOS. Now since this is an MSI Barebones, to get into the system BIOS when your laptop is starting up, you're going to want to hit delete a few times, and then your system BIOS will come up. Now going into system information, you can see we have the 3610 quad mobile in there, and then we do have 4 4-gig sticks of DDR3 memory, so 16 gigabytes of RAM right now. SATA information, we do have that OCZ Temps Caching SSD, and then we do have the 750 gigabyte 7200 RPM hard drive in the primary, and then just a standard DVD-CD combo drive. Going into the advanced settings, as you can see in here, RAID, we have RAID set up with those dual hard drives with that caching SSD. Boot priorities, you can always go in and change these if you like. Security, you can set up an administrative password, save and exit. Pretty much system BIOS are all the same. The only one that I've really seen much difference on is Alienware's, and really the only thing in Alienware's is they break down the system information a lot more than on these systems. But you know, when it comes to changing anything, there's not a lot that you can actually change in system BIOS on laptops. Okay, the next thing we're going to show you here is we ran some 3D marked Vantage benchmarking of the CPU and the GPU. Now the CPU in this is the stock i7-3610 quad mobile, and then the graphics card in here again is that stock NVIDIA GeForce GTX 680M with 4 gigabytes of video RAM. Now hopefully you can see it there. For a stock 3D marked Vantage run, we're getting 24,000 points. Now 24,000 points on a laptop, that's going to beat a lot of desktop GPUs right now. That's an insane score. Looking back at comparable graphics cards of last year, the 570, 580, we saw 9,000, 10,000 points. When we overclocked them, we hit maybe 11,000 points, if I recall correctly. So we're seeing graphics cards accelerate so much in technology. You're seeing just insane scores when it comes to 3D Mark Vantage scores. Now, we did a overclock. Now, for overclocking, we used MSI Afterburner 223. Now, one thing I will mention is that if you're not comfortable doing overclocking of the GPU, that is a service that we do provide. And it's a very affordable service, and then of course having us do it, we then warrant that service, so you don't have to worry about getting a burnout graphics card or anything like that if we overclock it. Now, for an overclock score, hopefully you can see that there again. This is a fairly safe overclock. We got maybe another 800 points on 3D Mark Vantage, which isn't a huge overclock, but again, this is a 680M, and you're seeing a 3D Mark Vantage score of almost 24,000 points stock, and then hitting 25,000 points almost overclocked. I mean, it's the graphics technology is exceeding so much lately that you really don't need to overclock the 680M right now. I mean, all your gaming performance is going to be outstanding. You're going to be able to play every PC game on Ultra with no problems with a 680M. So overclock, even though we didn't get a huge score, it is something that we can do for you, and we offer GPU overclocking pretty much on every laptop that we sell. Okay, the next thing you're going to see coming up on your screen here are some thermal images. Now, this is something that we've been doing ever since about April this year. We want to just show our fans and customers a little bit different perspective when doing these video reviews. Now, looking at the thermal temps, the palm rest area in the keyboard is staying surprisingly cool. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that these temperature shots were taken while we were overclocking our graphics card, so these temperatures are probably going to be about the max that you would see on this Barebones 1762 for 1762. So palm rest area keyboard temperatures are completely normal. Looking at the exhaust vents, you can see the two exhaust vents there, and you can probably see some of that heat hitting the table coming out of those vents. Those temperatures are normal. You are seeing over 100 degrees, but that's what those vents there are for. They're supposed to suck that hot air out of the system. So the temperatures we're seeing out of the vents are completely normal. Looking at the AC adapter, I don't believe we mentioned it. This is a 180 watt AC adapter. You are powering pretty much the most powerful graphics card on the planet right now. So you are going to get a 180 watt AC adapter. It's one of the biggest ones out there. Temperatures you're seeing just above 120 degrees Fahrenheit. That again is normal. We've had this plugged in for a good 8 hours now. So those are probably going to be the max temperatures you're going to see as far as the AC adapter goes. So those are the temps. There were no abnormal temps, in my opinion, whatsoever on this Force 1762. Okay, the last thing we want to show you here is just the inside of this Force 1762 Barebones MSI 1762. First thing you'll notice at the top here is that single fan running to the GPU and the CPU. This is common on all MSI branded and Barebones laptops. A lot of people think the cooling system on this isn't as great because it only has one fan versus a lot of the Sagers have like dual fans, or the Alienwares have more fans than just one. Actually, the cooling system on this is great. The heat sinks that travel from the fan aren't terribly far, and as you could see in those thermal images earlier, the cooling on this is quite nice. You do have two RAM sticks here. The other two are located opposite the keyboard. Like we mentioned on this test model, we do have 16 gigabytes of memory, but you can go all the way up to 32 gigabytes with those 8 gig modules. At the top here, this is going to be your primary hard drive bay. Like we mentioned earlier, in here we do have that 750 gigabyte 7200 RPM hard drive. And then your second bay up here, normally this is empty unless you do add an option. And on this system we did go with that OCZ Caching SSD. That's the inside. It's virtually identical to the branded MSI GT70s. One last thing to take note of here, this is that Dyne Audio subwoofer underneath as well. So nothing you know, hugely fancy. It's what I expected to see when I pulled it open. It's basically the same thing as the MSI GT70s. Accessing this panel is fairly easy. There is, I believe, 8 screws. It's the exact same setup as the branded MSI models. So hopefully that gives you just a little bit of perspective of the inside of this MSI Barebones 1762. And thank you for watching our XOTIC PC video review of the new MSI Barebones 1762, also known to us as the Force 1762. This does have that new blue backlit keyboard on there, which is really nice. This does come with the GTX 680M. Incredible price. You're looking at just around $1,700, and you get the most powerful graphics card, in my opinion, on the planet right now. When comparing a Barebones system to a branded MSI GT70, if you wanted the 680M, you're going to pay well over $2,000. So you're looking at a minimum $300 to $400 savings at the very least by going with one of our Force branded MSI Barebones laptops. Thank you again for joining us. If you have any questions about the review, go ahead and leave those below in our YouTube comments box, or you can feel free to contact us directly. Our email is sales@exoticpc.com, or check out the toll-free 1-800 number listed below. Go to our website and configure yours for yourself if you like. Our website is exoticpc.com. That's XOTIC PC.com. Check it out. Hope you enjoyed the review, and we will see you on the next review. Thanks again.